wandering band of members of a so-called religious cult with a leader they call Jesus has had 3 of its followers arrested in the investigation of the murder of Sharon Tate and 6 others.
Charles Manson was born on November 12, 1934, to his mother, Kathleen Maddox. He spent many years of his life in and out of prison before 1967. During his final prison sentence, before going on to be a cult leader, Manson learned the guitar and apparently converted to Scientology. In 1967, Charles Manson, released from prison and a struggling musician at this point, made his way to San Francisco, where he met Mary Bruner and eventually moved in with her. Soon after moving in with Bruner, Manson would invite more and more people, mostly female hitchhikers, to live with him, which is known to be the start of the Manson family. During the summer, the family opted for a moving home and refurbished a bus that they used to travel along the west. They visited Topanga Canyon, Venice, Washington, Mexico, and Malibu. Eventually, they settled down in LA and lived with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. After Wilson was evicted from his home, the family was forced to move to Spahn Ranch, an abandoned movie set where Charles Watson, also known as Tex, joined the family. While at Spahn Ranch, Manson taught that he was the reincarnated Jesus Christ, and that the members of his family were reincarnations of the early Christians.
What's Jesus? There's all kinds of Jesuses. There's a black Jesus down in Florida. He's having a good time. There's a Mexican Jesus in Mexico. I mean, there's all kinds of Jewish Jesus. I mean, Jesus, you know. There's all kinds of Jesus coming back everywhere. And nothing can stop it. It's a consciousness that lives in your mind.
This very clearly goes against the doctrine of Christianity, which shows that Jesus came into this world only once, and humans are born and die only once physically. Hebrews 9:25-27 says, "Nor was it to offer himself repeatedly, but as it is, he has appeared once for all at the end of the ages, just as it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes judgment." In 1968, the Beatles released their infamous White Album. Manson became obsessed with the album and believed that the Beatles were hiding coded messages about the end times in the lyrics of their songs. Manson taught the family that soon a racial war would begin between the blacks and whites, with blacks rising up in rebellion in a bloody war. Manson taught that the Beatles knew about the coming Armageddon and wrote their songs specially for the family. It was their job to help jumpstart the war and protect the worthy against it. Humanity, as Manson taught, was destined for this war, and Manson, being the reincarnated Jesus, chose the elect few who were destined for salvation and eventual ruling of the world post-Armageddon. The impending doom was called Helter Skelter. In the Bible, Revelation details the second coming of Christ. In that book, there's no mention of a race war. Instead, it says, "After this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one can number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, with palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, 'Salvation belongs to our God, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb.'" Revelation 7:9-10. While the Bible does indeed talk about a war, it is not a race war, but instead is between those who follow God, led by Jesus, and those who oppose him, led by Satan and his army. Revelation describes the war as being between God and the human governments of earth, saying, "For they are demonic spirits, performing signs, who go abroad to the kings of the whole world, to assemble them for battle on the great day of God the Almighty." Revelation 16:14. To Charles Manson, the start of Helter Skelter would be started by the family, who would rise up as the leaders to guide the world post-war. How would they start this war? By targeting the Hollywood elite. On a July night of 1969, Manson ordered his family members to target, kidnap, torture, and kill Gary Hinman, a former music associate. Over 3 days, Hinman was tortured and eventually killed on July 25th. Above him, written in his blood, were the words "political piggy." The murder of Hinman was, unsurprisingly, a failed attempt to start Helter Skelter. On August 8, 1969, Manson ordered his family to kill again, this time going bigger. He targeted the residents renting out the home of a former associate, Terry Milker. The residents were Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring. The family snuck into Tate's home and brutally murdered her friends, and her unborn child, and wrote "pig" on the walls in their blood. Following these murders, the family drove and committed more killing sprees around Southern California. This, they believed, would start Helter Skelter and allow the family to rise up with Manson as their ruler. Soon after these murders, and returning to Spahn Ranch, the family's residence was raided by police under suspicion of stealing cars. Susan Atkins, being in custody for those crimes, bragged about her involvement in the family's murders. This led to the arrest and eventual conviction of Manson and the remainder of his family. They were sentenced to death, but soon after, the death sentence was repealed in California. Instead, Manson was sentenced to life in prison. Manson, while in prison, continued to claim that he committed no crime.
Guilty. I wouldn't do anything that I felt guilty about.
You don't feel guilty at all?
There's no need to feel guilty. I haven't done anything I'm ashamed of.
Although Manson never felt remorse for his actions, many of the family members converted to Christianity, including Catherine Scher, Bruce Davis, and Tex Watson. Tex, who still remains in prison, founded Abounding Love Ministries and continues to spread the good news of true Christianity, and has turned away from the beliefs of Charles Manson and the family.
I hate what I've done. I hate having to be the person that have committed a crime that's so hideous. I hate that.
The Manson family cult brought about the end of the era of Hollywood dreams and glamour. Once a safe haven for aspiring or established artists, the shadow of the murders forever tainted the spotless and glorified image of the Hollywood scene, and has left artists looking over their shoulders for years, wondering who could be next on the family's agenda.
Tell me in a sentence who you are.
Nobody. I'm nobody. I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight razor if you get too close to me.
Restless people from a sick city burn their houses down to make the sky look pretty. What can I do? I'm just a person. This is the land we always simply